Are you an ambitious professional looking for that missing edge in your performance? Discover what elite professionals already know. Happiness isn't just a feeling, it's your most powerful competitive advantage. Join me on Tuesday, March 26th for an exclusive live webinar where I'll share the neuroscience behind why happiness drives exceptional business results, practical techniques to rewire your brain for enhanced focus and resilience, transformative mindset shifts that you can implement immediately. Imagine leading with unshakable confidence, inspiring your team, and performing at your peak, all while preventing burnout. Head over to Linktree/YourThoughtLife to register today and transform your leadership journey with the power of happiness. Your team and your future self will thank you.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to Your Thought Life podcast. I am your host, Michael Anderson. Today, we're going to be talking about moving beyond time to energy management. And for as long as I've been in the workforce and probably well in the rearview mirror of that, time management has been the gold standard for productivity. I've been hearing it literally since I was 16 when I got my first job. We've been told to schedule our days down to the minutes, to use planners, to squeeze as much activity into our calendars as we can, and to prioritize those things that mean the most to us, that drive the greatest outcomes for us in the least amount of time. But here's a truth that seldom gets said. Managing your time is only half the battle, family. What if I told you that managing your energy, not just your time, is the real key to sustainable success? That's going to touch quite a few of you, I know, which is why I thought this was a fantastic episode. We're endeavoring to move beyond time to energy management as a function of changing our productivity and shifting with the way things are today. The lifestyle revolution demands that we optimize our energy instead of our hours so that we are able to unlock a sustainable performance that drives results faster, that offers us a greater degree of creativity, and to achieve more in less time. And you just got to know that this approach doesn't change how you work. However, it does transform your experiences in a given day. Here's why. We've all had days where we block off time for deep work. But when the moment comes, we're exhausted, distracted, or just not in the right headspace to be as productive as we like. Does this ring a bell to anyone? I'm sure it does, because it's certainly something that I personally experience from time to time. And that's because time management assumes all hours are created equal. And the reality is your energy fluctuates throughout the day. And dare I say that you have a finite amount of energy to last you throughout that day. If you don't account for this, what happens is we begin setting ourselves up for inefficiency and burnout. How many of us have friends who have burnt out, who absolutely this Sunday evening and the thought of having to get up and go to work on Monday? And this has become a really big problem with the whole work construct. And again, what we're trying to do is set you up for success, help you understand this trend so that you can do something about it, and something that is tangible to really help drive change for you. Energy levels are regulated by an ultradian rhythm. And I know that might sound a little bit sciencey, but let me try to help you with that. These are natural cycles of alertness and fatigue that occur every 90 to 120 minutes. And the research is profound. Studies from Harvard Business Review suggest that the most productive individuals work in cycles. Burst of high energy focus, followed by intentional rest. Ignoring these rhythmic cycles lends itself to what we call a diminishing return, which equates to decision fatigue and mental exhaustion. The good news here is this specific cycle is very correctable. But before we get to the corrective elements, the practical application, if you will, let me help you understand a little bit more about your energy and how it's being used in a given day. Managing your energy is really all about an understanding of your physical stamina. It's much more holistic than it lends itself to be. There's effectively 4 different dimensions of energy. You have physical energy, the foundation of performance. Sleep, nutrition, and movement all play critical roles in sustaining a high level of energy. The National Sleep Foundation recommends 7 to 9 hours of sleep for optimal cognitive function. If you find yourself somewhere in the middle of that sweet spot, you're probably okay. If you're above 9, you're probably okay. If you're less than 7, this is something, family, that you're going to want to take a look at and see if you can change circumstances and situations to hit that 8-hour marker. Next, we have emotional energy. Your mood directly impacts your performance. I say that so often here in our podcast because positive emotions enhance creativity and your problem-solving center. While on the opposite end of the spectrum, stress and negativity drains your energy. Practices like gratitude and mindfulness, all of the things that we promote here, have a profound impact on regulating your emotional state. And then there's mental energy, your ability to focus and to think critically as the need arises throughout the day. Study shows that multitasking, which I'm guilty of even today, understanding this stat, reduces efficiency by about 40%. And you may have gotten to a point in your career where you feel like you're good at it. Even if you're good at it, you still are unable to escape this huge drain on what we're calling the 4 dimensions of energy. Specifically, your mental energy still is being zapped by this process. What you want to do is perform all of your deep work in a distraction-free environment, which maximizes your mental output. So if you've got to turn ringers off, if you have to turn off notifications, do so. The greater your degree of focus, the faster you'll be able to think through that situation, thus preserving the amount of mental energy you use for that specific task. And don't forget, you have a finite amount of energy to last you all day. And we've only talked about 3 of the 4. Next is spiritual, the sense of purpose and alignment. This really has a tremendous amount of influence in how your energy distribution is going to take place in certain situations. So when you're able to connect your work to a larger mission, to your faith, to your beliefs, you now have a driving force to amp or move up the degree to which you have motivation and resilience in the face of adversity, instead of it detracting additional energy. So our energy is across 4 different dimensions: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. We need to be sure that we have an understanding of how we're divvying that up in a given day. Now, let's talk about some things that you can begin to do to combat some of these situations. I would share with you, just as a caveat, that there are several things to do. I'm only giving you the top 3 today. Those that science say create the greatest degree of change in the least amount of time with the least amount of effort, given a consistent approach. Number one is work with your energy peaks and valleys. What this means, family, is we're going to have to get to know ourselves. We're going to have to identify what is it for me, or where is it for me that I am performing the best? What hours are those? What environments are those? Is it in the morning? Is it in the evening? Is it in the afternoon? And once you understand that, schedule your deep work accordingly. So for me specifically, that is anywhere from 10 to 1 o'clock. I can knock out some pretty extensive, deep, troubling issues during that window. But I spend a lot of time with myself and have spent a lot of time getting to know me. So I know this. If you haven't done this exercise, I would suggest that you do it. You want to save low energy time for administrative and routine tasks, and you want to dedicate the hard stuff, the heavy lifting, to these peak performance windows. Number two, you want to adapt the 90-minute cycle. Remember, we talked about that rhythmic cycle, right? And there being about 90 to 120 minutes. And after that, without rest, there was a significant fall off. But the ultradian rhythm method, 90 minutes of deep work should be followed by 15 to 20-minute breaks. That is to say, if you're like me and the vast majority of your heavy lifting is in front of a computer or with a computer, then that 15 to 20 minutes should be nothing to do with computing, nothing to do with your job. It should be something totally different. If you can back away and read one of your favorite books, if you can take a break, go to a quiet place and do some meditation and just close your eyes and think through what the plan was for today and how you're doing there. If you can go outside, get some vitamin D, take a little walk. If you work from home, maybe you can chit chat with your loved one or your partner, something that takes you completely out of the work mindset. This provides the relative break that you need so that you can come back into your next session recharged and ready to go. Breaks should involve movement, relaxation, no social media. Okay? Number three, you have to prioritize your sleep and recovery. There's a tremendous amount of mental cleansing that takes place during the sleep process. Lack of sleep impacts decision-making and productivity more than missing deadlines, because what happens if you don't get a good night's rest, you're coming into the day with a deficit. Remember, you've got so much energy to last you the entire day. You got to spread that across 4 dimensions. And if you're already coming in at 80, right, and you already know that 100 sometimes is not enough, you have got to be extra crispy with how you do everything throughout that day. And guess what? You can. Why? Because you've come in at a deficit. So those 8 hours are critical for re-establishing the baseline, for getting all of that cleansing work done and setting you up to come into the day with a full tank or 100% of your emotional capital. So prioritize your sleep. Reduce blue light exposure before bed. Right? Turn those TVs off. Turn those phones off. Go old school. Read a book. Write some notes on some flashcards, right? Do a little bit of studying. If there's something, maybe you have a presentation or some key points you want to really commit to memory, the best time to do that is right before you go to sleep, right? And then it gets baked into your long-term memory overnight, and then you go over it in the morning and shazam, you're raw solid. So big idea here is maintain a consistent sleep schedule and create downtime for yourself to recharge your batteries. And just as a somewhat of a bonus and or caveat, none of these things will work if you have a crappy diet. If you're taking in large amounts of alcohol, large amounts of sugar, if you're eating processed food, if you're eating a lot of fried dishes, you're not consuming vegetables, you're not getting any water, you're not doing any exercise, and we already talked about sleep. There is a setup for you to not be or show up the way you desire to. So your health, your diet, your exercise, those need to come into this equation as well. So I want to tell you something, and it's a recap of sort. Time management alone isn't enough. That's what our goal was to share here today. There's a bit of a change taking place. And if we are to truly unlock sustainable productivity and a greater degree of success, we have to begin the management of our energy. When you align your work with your energy appropriately, prioritizing rest and recovery and doing some of the other things we talked about, right? What you're going to find is that you're going to be able to get more done and you're going to feel better doing it. And anytime we can marry positivity or a positive mental mind state with rest and relaxation and this understanding that we've got this finite amount of emotional capital and we've got to make that last throughout the day, we're then set up to make some better decisions for ourselves, particularly if we can adopt that 90-minute work cycle, and then we can also prioritize those peaks and valleys once we've understood what they are. This is a phenomenal way for you to shift your energy management in such a way that it leads to massive improvement, massive productivity, and a greater sense of well-being. I want to thank you so much for joining us today for this episode. Do consider leaving us a rating and a review. It helps us tremendously. We're in over 170 countries now, thanks to you. Feel free to connect with us on Linktree. The link is available in the show notes. I want to remind you that you are enough, you can do it, and you are uniquely equipped to realize your goals. Until next time, take care and keep moving forward.